Hi, my name is Elizabeth. I have type 1 diabetes and I've had it for 26 years. The other day I was realizing I have a lot of experience doing hiking, backpacking, and that sort of thing. And there's stuff out there, but I wanted to give my experience to make it more accessible for like young people starting out with type 1 diabetes, or if you're a parent who has a kid who has type 1 diabetes, and just to give you that extra confidence boost and the empowerment that you can do it. So I personally have summited Mount Whitney and did the John Muir Trail, which is 260 miles of backpacking for my honeymoon, and also did the El Camino de Santiago. So I've done a lot of hiking, and there are a lot of tips and tricks that I've learned through the years. First off, there's a ton of safety stuff and gear recommendations and stuff like that. That's not what this video will be. This will be more on your food, your type 1 diabetes supplies, and just other tips and tricks to help you. But of course, always bring your 10 essentials whenever you're hiking. And let's start before you even hike. You want to tell at least 2 to 3 people where you're gonna go. Ideally, I like to hike with people. I haven't really hiked alone as a type 1 diabetic, but I know some people who do, and that's brave of them. But always tell someone where you go and what time you plan to be back, and that sort of thing, so someone will always know. And always have your little medical alert on you, visible somewhere. And if you have on your phone, you can put your information there, so if you pass out or something, someone can find you and help. Or you could even have a little note attached to your backpack if you're doing alone sort of stuff. So that's before you hike. Now, I have a list or several food items that spike my blood sugar, and no matter what I can do, no matter what the amount of insulin that I give, it stays high for 5-6 hours, which is perfect if you're going for a hike and expending a lot of energy for 5-6 hours. You can eat that food beforehand, and then it compensates. For me, those foods include rice, sushi, burritos, pad thai. So any of those sort of foods that have kind of the fatty protein combo with a heavy carb, a dense carb that keeps my blood sugar sustained for hours. Those are really good. I have a list of those, and if you want to keep track of what sort of foods you react to that way, then you can eat those for your breakfast for that day of hiking. Another thing is your Lantus, or your long-acting insulin. For the past 6 years or so, was on shots, so it's possible to do these sort of things on shots. It's definitely possible. I do really like my new pump now. I think that the activity mode, specifically on the Omnipod, really helps, but there's other activity modes on other pumps as well. If you're doing long-acting insulin sort of thing, you can play around with it. See, just be patient with yourself always with your blood sugars when you're going on a hike. If you specifically when I go snowboarding and hiking, I do about half to 3/4 of my long-term acting insulin in the day, and then about half at night, because if you expended a ton of energy, I usually drop after big exercise days overnight. So now that we've covered the pre-hike sort of thing, let's get to the trailhead and what I bring in a backpack. I like to always have my glucagon. This is really cool because it used to be a big old thing. You have the needle, you take it out, you have to have somebody put it in you. But this one, they still have to do it. It's the nasal one, and it's only $60 at least where I am, versus $300 or something. And I always like to have one on my person and one with whoever I'm hiking with, and always tell them where this is. I also like to always have in my to-go kit my little tester kit in case my CGM goes out, or which I have a CGM. That makes it so nice. When you're hiking, you can track it all the time. And but it's also possible to do it without that. I would just test your blood sugar, bring enough extra test strips to test it every 20 to 30 minutes and set a timer on your phone, sort of thing. Also, speaking of timers, I know this is jumping around, but when you start your hike, it takes me about 30 to 45 minutes before my blood sugar drops. So I usually set a 30 to 45 minute timer, and then at that time or just before that, I eat some food. Like I'll show you the food options that I bring for myself later, but also test that out for yourself. Your body's probably different. For me, if I'm swimming, I drop within like 10 to 20 minutes, maybe 5 minutes even, or if I'm dancing, something like full body exercise. But hiking is a little less full body exercise, and even running, it takes like 30 minutes to 45 minutes for my blood sugar to drop. Also, before you get to the trailhead, I try not to have any insulin on board when I start hiking, or less than 0.5 units. And for me, 15 grams is 1 unit. So like 7 to 10 grams of insulin on board. You want to have less than that. Otherwise, it can tank more quickly as well. And now let's get into the food. So the food, first, before we do that, I'm going to show you, this is something that I always carry with me. I always carry in this little pack my backup site. If you're doing a backpacking trip, I keep like 3 or 4 of these. I always have a lot extra on hand. And then I have skin tack wipes. I have these sticky tacks, which are amazing because on mine, so they look like this. They make sure that when you're sweating and exerting a lot of energy, that your pod or your site or anything stays in place. And I've tested a lot of brands out of these. Like, this is my favorite brand, which I'll include, I guess, a link. Nothing here is sponsored, by the way. I'm just giving you my experience with the products that I really like and I've used for years. So this is another one, skin tack wipe. I always put that down before I put this on, and I always put it down before I put a new site on to make sure that it stays. Otherwise I lose a site in like 1 day. But this I can work with for like 6 days, and then I just always bring extra in case it starts to peel, and you can just peel it back. And I have a little set of scissors actually that you just can cut it away from your body and then peel it off around and then put a new one on, sort of thing. And then I also always bring this tack away. It's very helpful when you're switching sites to like get all of the little residue off. Or another brand is this one as well. And then, so I bring extras. I bring as much as I need for about 2 to 3 sites all the time. And this is my to go, even when I'm not hiking and I'm just gonna be out for the day. This is what I bring. I also bring extra shots, just in case. Your long-acting insulin, if you have some on hand and it's like, you have enough to bring out. I also bring my insulin with me in that little case. Just find a little case, and actually when I'm hiking I like to put it in a waterproof case because you never know if you're going to get water somewhere, or you can put your phone in there if your phone is your monitor and stuff like that. That is really, really helpful and very important. Speaking of phones, I always bring a little battery pack. This one's just a little guy, BioLite I think, and a cord. Don't forget the cord to bring, because if your pump settings are on your phone and your Dexcom or your CGM is on your phone and your phone dies, then that's not ideal. So I always like to bring one of these on a day hike and a bigger pack when I am, plus a little solar panel hookup recharger, like the bigger one when I'm backpacking. So another thing is keeping your insulin cool. This is from forallfamily.com. It's very beat up, but it works really, really well. This is a different one. It's got a little, this is if you have a freezer accessible before you're hiking. So backpacking, this might not be as ideal, but it can be really helpful for your first couple of days. You just freeze this overnight and then you take it out for, I think like an hour. No, so you freeze for at least 6 hours. You put it in a bowl of warm water once you take it out of the freezer for 3 minutes, and then you pat it dry and you put it in your little cooler, which this you can put all your extra insulin in and any shot pens, if you have pens, sort of thing, in there. I've said sort of thing a lot, that's funny. This is also, I'm not sure what brand this is. It's just probably a no-name brand, but it's a little cooling pack. This is something you put in cold water, and the gel inside of it, the little beads swell up and keep cool. It's less ideal than this, but this is great for if you're like backpacking and you want to keep your insulin cool. Just it brings it down just a little bit. And then I think I've covered all the things I like to have. In addition, I always like to have ibuprofen on hand, just in case. Some hand sanitizer, always, and all your 10 essentials. Hand sanitizer, you always want to have your hands clean if you're working with your sites and stuff like that. I always bring an extra transmitter inserted for that. And I think that's all of the supply stuff that I bring. Now I'll show you the food that I bring. Something I really like to do is to hard boil some eggs, and about right at the trailhead or 20 minutes before getting to the trailhead, I like to eat the hard-boiled eggs. Always bring a little Ziploc because you don't want to just dump the eggshells, or the eggshells, you don't really want them in your car all stinking it up, so it'd be nice to have them in a Ziploc just ready to go. Or you could just peel it beforehand, bring it. But that's a really good, I found that helps a lot when you first have your first little burst of activity. It's a good amount of fat and protein combo for that. Some other things that you can go, there are some different like price ranges for this. I really, really like having a half of one of these honey stinger stroopwafels right before, or like 10 minutes before I do any activity level, like a run, a hike, anything. And you can also just have a piece of toast and some honey and peanut butter. It's kind of the same thing as this. This is just very compact and easy, and it's very tasty. I like it. And you can also do some nuts or seeds or stuff like that. I always bring those on a hike. Some almonds and any other nuts. And I don't really get snack packs. It's just nicer to have your own little pack. If you just get a bunch of nuts at the bulk section, that makes it easy too. So let's talk about low supplies while hiking. You can bring any just fruit snacks, like my brother loves Skittles, he has type 1 diabetes too, and or Starbursts and that sort of thing. But I found that anything with processed sugars kind of gives me a headache, and it's not the best for you. It's tasty, but it hurts right here. So I've tried to find a lot of low supplies that don't have a ton of processed sugar and are more like natural fruit sort of thing. One thing I really like is the Sully fruit gummies. These guys don't give me headaches, which is important when you're having a lot of low blood sugars on the trail, and they leave you feeling more fresh. That's It bars, they're really good. They're easy compact things also. This one is a little more processed, but it's still nice. There's like these pure organic layered fruit bars. They're at Costco. These are at Costco. These are like at Fred Meyer's or other places too. I really like Cliff Blocks, like 1 or 2 when I'm starting to dip a little bit, like say I'm 120 slanted arrow down, or 105 and I feel like I'm dropping a little bit. I really like to have some of these. These are also my best, like they spike my blood sugar the quickest. without the option of juice. You can also, if you're going for a little hike, you can bring like a little thing of juice. But these bring it up the best out of all these options. But all the options are kind of nice to have a variety of. And another one is these guys, these bowls. Again, these are all more like, they're more athlete foods, geared towards athletes, and so they can be a little more pricey. I always look for sales on like Amazon or whatever, but I like them a lot because some of them have like electrolytes in them, and they have other nutrients and stuff that are, so it doesn't just feel like you're eating sugar all the time, which is kind of the annoying part about diabetes if you're like me and don't really like sugar too much when you don't want sugar. Some other things is you need to make sure you have some good rounded carbs on board. Here's what I really like. The Perfect Bar. It helps keep the blood sugar stable very nicely. It has a good ratio of carbs to protein to fats and all that. This Pro Bar meal is also a really good one. These are ones that don't feel super heavy. And then this Honey Stinger Nut and Seed Bar is also a very good one. And yeah, that's basically all that I've got. I think that hiking can be awesome. It's super fun. Exercise is super fun to do, especially if you're in a group of people. I hope this empowers you a little bit if you don't know where to start, or if you wanted more information on how to hike with type 1 diabetes. If you've got any suggestions too, just comment below. Hopefully it can be a helpful thing for people in the future. I probably won't post more videos just because I won't ask you to like and subscribe and all that. I just wanted to share some info because I like hiking and I have experience and wanted to share with you. Anyway, if you have questions also, put them down there. I could try to answer them. Yeah, have a great day. Have fun hiking. Bye.